Well, it's the middle of January now and it's absolutely freezing cold, but there is no denying that there are carp to be caught in the winter. But there are a few things that I like to do that certainly stand me the best possible chance of getting bites. And the first thing is the venue. Now today you join me at the famous Farlows down in Iver. It's a lake that I haven't fished a lot in the past, despite having fished so many venues over the year, and it is a venue with absolutely brilliant winter form. And that is the basis of this video, going to places that are going to give you the best possible chance of getting a winter bite. I know that Farlows has great winter form. I arrived here this morning, there's not many guys on. It's a lake that's made up of all sorts of different bays, open water areas. There's loads of places that the fish can hide. But more importantly, you can always find the fish at Farlows. Whether or not I'm going to get a bite, who knows? But I'm here for a few nights. It's freezing cold. It's due to get a lot colder. But I'm hoping that the tactics that I'm going to employ is going to see me get maybe 1 or 2 Farlows carp. So without further ado, I'm going to go for a walk round, speak to a few of the guys that are fishing here, try and find a little bit of a pattern as to where the fish have been coming out, get the gear out the van, get set up and try and catch ourselves a Farlows carp. Well, I've had a good walk and a good drive around. I've spoken to a few of the guys that are awake. The water level is very, very high. Now, the past couple of weeks we have had an extraordinary amount of rain. I think a lot of lakes up and down the country are high. Farlows never normally really struggles with high water levels, but the peg that I'm in now, 43, that I'm stood in, is a peg that commands a lot of open water, but with the water rising like it has done, it makes this unfishable, and it also makes all of the factory bank, I believe it's called, unfishable as well. So that's probably not going to help as well, because it does give the fish a big area where they can go and hide and get away from the pressure. But one thing that I have found out from walking around is over the weekend it did do a few fish. Now the weather on the weekend was 12 degrees, nice and mild, raining and windy. I know we've still got a bit of wind now, but tonight it's dropping down to -1, but I'm not going to make any excuses. We're here to fish. I'm going to carry on having a little look around. There's only about 8 or 10 guys here, which is good because it gives me quite a lot of options. But with the water being up, 2 things. There's a lot of cold rainwater gone in here, which with the zig ban rules that out straight away. So that could put the fish off of certainly being down in the more deeper water. And also with a lot of the swims underwater and inaccessible, it gives the fish a big area where they can go and hide. But like I say, I'm not here to make excuses. I'm gonna have another little walk around, find myself a swim, because this time of year you haven't got many hours of daylight. And yeah, I'm gonna try my best to catch a Farlows carp. Well, after having a good walk around, speaking to a few of the guys that are on it has been doing quite a few fish over the weekend. And the weather at the moment is pretty good, 6-7 degrees, low pressure, windy, and it's chucking it down with rain. But it is due to change over the course of the session, so I don't know how that's going to change things. But I have spoken to the guy who's in peg 2, which is right in front of the shop, and he's actually going home in about an hour's time. So I'm going to pop the bivvy up before I take the rest of my tackle round, and hopefully going into peg 2, which is an area that I've fished once before, but it is also a good area with sort of winter form, and it is, like I say, going cold throughout the rest of my trip. So I'm hoping that if it goes cold, they sit out in that middle, and you never know, might get a few bites. And as well, in this video, make sure you keep your ears open, because we are going to be running a giveaway at the end where we'll be asking you guys a question for your chance to win an absolutely fantastic prize. So all that's left for me to do now is grab my bivvy out of here, go around there, brave the elements, set it up, let's get fishing, and let's see what Farlows has got to offer. Now, I have heard on the grapevine that naturals are good in winter, as they are all year round. And yeah, what better way to start? I know I fished Farlows before, but I haven't fished it a lot. I think this is the 5th time that I've ever fished here. But like I always say, always go to a place or go to a venue with a method and a tactic that you know works. Now, I've just got my bog standard Illusion D-rigs, exactly the same length, small pieces of foam, and I've got 10 maggots. This is the same on all 3 of the rods. And like I say, just stick to what you know. I'm not saying it's going to work, but it's a very, very good starting point. The only difference is how I'm going to be putting these rigs out, which is not the way that most people would expect, but I'm just about to show you exactly how these 3 rigs are going to make their way out onto the spot. But before I started the bait piece, I just had to nip back to the van and grab the woolly hat. It is getting colder and colder by the minute, but here we go, the bait. Now, like I said about the rigs, go in with what you know, because what you know will always work, or it will get you out of trouble. So I've got my trusty hemp, sweet corn and mulched up boilies. It's a visual mix with the corn, but at the same time with the mulched up boilies, it gives the mix a lot of weight. Now, where I'm fishing out there is about 11 or 12 feet. And the last thing that I want to be doing is putting bait out there and it's drifting across and going all over the place. So that is the mix that I'm using, a mix that I use everywhere and a mix that works time and time again. But in the bait tub down here, I have got some maggots. Now, like I've already said, natural baits any time of the year will always get you bites, but none more so in the winter. And when the going gets tough, sometimes adding a few maggots into your mix will get you them extra bites where you might not have had them had you not have put them into your mix. Now at Farlows, there is a 4-pint rule, which means you can only put 4 pints in per 24 hours. So I've got two 2-pint bait tubs to last me for the first 24 hours. And then in the van, I've obviously got 2 more for the following night. So I'm gonna put just a dusting of these into each boatload that I put out into the lake. And yes, you heard that right. I am gonna be starting off this trip by using a bait boat. I have found a spot out there. It's a nice spot. The clock's ticking. It's absolutely freezing cold. I don't want to go levering loads of bait in, and it's going to enable me to put 3 rigs very, very quietly out into the middle where I believe, or I hope, that the fish are sitting, and it's going to be nice and accurately baited. But I'm not going to rely solely on the boat. I'm going to start the session by putting them out with the boat, but I am going to be spomming and topping up the spot later on and recasting them before it gets dark. But to get things going and to get the rods out, I am going to be putting these rigs out with the aid of Cecil the Vessel. Cecil in all his glory. Look at that for a boat. She's a big one. It's like having a spawn with cruise control. Right, well, the rig goes in first. By no means am I an expert in using one of these. In fact, this is probably only the 3rd time I've ever used it in the UK. In fact, it's only the 3rd time I've ever used it. There is a bit of an art form to it. I know everyone says you just load them up and send them out there, but you know, you still got to have a little bit of thought with them. So I'm just making sure my lead is on there. That's on there. Right, I'm going to lay that in. Like I say, this is a bit of a process. Probably by the time I put 3 rigs out of a bait boat, I probably could have put 3 rigs out casting, spommed up and cooked myself some food. But it's how I've chose to start and I'm not changing it. Right, so I'm going to move that out of the way. Let's grab my bait. This is another common mistake as well I see a lot of people make. That hopper will hold 4 kilos of bait. Now, it's so easy with a scoop just to fill it in with bait. But, and especially at this time of year, in the winter, the last thing that you want to be doing is putting loads and loads of bait in. When you're spomming, you've got to take that probably 1 spoonful of bait that I'd normally put out equates to one of these scoops. Now it's probably about 25-30 scoops to fill the hopper up. So you can't, just because you've got a bait boat, go mental with the bait. You've got to relate it to how much would I be putting out if I was spomming it out. And the answer is not as much as what you actually think. So I'm only going to put enough in here, hopefully just to get a bite, or just enough that if I don't get a bite and I reel in, I'm not leaving big piles of bait. And another thing I've done as well, and I'll cover that a bit more when I'm putting the rod out, is I've actually found a spot and I've clipped up to it, which is very, very important. But I'll cover that when I'm putting the rod out. So I'm going to load this boat up and I'm going to send Cecil on his way out into the middle of Farlows. And what a very easy way to put a rod out. and that is it. I've literally got in there probably about 1/8 of a pint of maggots, I would say, and I got 1 scoop of the hemp, the mulched up boilies and the sweet corn. Like I say, it is just enough to hopefully get a bite. I don't want to fill the fish up. That's a little trap. I know when it goes out there, I've released the hopper, it's going to drop down in a nice clump. I'm going to have a nice, tightly presented bed of bait with a rig sat right in the middle of it. Let's send it on its way. Now, like I said, I've clipped these up to a spot, all 3 of these rods. I've fished on places before where they've allowed bait boat. Oh, turkey's just bit me in the back. Wonder what it was. God, you bit me back, fat. Come on, out of it. I'm filming. As I said, as I was baiting it up, I've clipped the rods up. Now, on a lot of places that I fish that allow bait boats, what you tend to get happen is people see a fish show and they just go and dump a load of bait on it. And before long, after say 24 or 48 hours, there is just a minefield of bait out there. So it's important to keep it clipped up to the same area. Now, I'll put pole elastic on, it's in the line clip, I'm sitting down, granted it's a bit of a lazy way of putting a rod out, but I'm sitting down, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand in the position that I would normally stand when I'm casting when it gets near the clip. And then when it gets near the clip, I'm literally just going to sort of edge the boat out until the line is tight, and it's just coming out now. I believe the elastic, there we go, it's on the clip now. It's in line with where I want it to go. I'm going to stand up, and I'd hold the rod at a sort of a 45 if I was casting. And I'm going to hold it at a 45, and I'm going to release the hopper. That's going down, that's hit the bottom. Leave the boat there just for a little bit, because I don't want the props to sort of swirl the bait that's lingering around in the upper layers away. And then I'm going to slowly bring that boat back, and that is gone, you can probably see, to that clip there, and I've held the rod in exactly the same position as what I would do when I cast. So I know then that when I cast these rods back out this evening, which is what I'm going to do, I'm not going to rely on the boat for the whole trip, that the rigs and the bait is going to be landing in exactly the same place every time. And what I'm not going to do, if I see a fish show, I'm not going to load the boat up and just send it out onto a showing fish, because like I said before long you end up with a minefield of bait out there, and the last thing that I want to be doing is putting bait all over the place. Certainly at this time of year, when a bite's going to be hard to come by anyway, I want to concentrate them on one area, hopefully get them feeding there and get ourselves a bite. So I've got 2 more rods to do. That was pretty pain-free. Hopefully the other 2 go out nice and easy. I'm going to settle this down now, and we are fishing. Well, that's it, that's the 3rd one down. And another little thing as well, just because you're dropping them out of a bait boat doesn't mean you shouldn't still feel for the lead on the bottom. I know the spot that I found's clear, but I felt all 3 of those leads out of the boat down onto the bottom. I mean, they have gone nice and accurate. I was just about to say they've gone nice and accurate, but you can't really miss, can you, with a bait boat? But they are out there, nice and accurate, 3 rigs in position without making hardly any disturbance. It's just a good way of getting started on the session. But like I say, as the day draws on and we go into the evening, I'm going to be recasting these. I'm going to be topping the spot up with the spawn. But for now, we're fishing. It's freezing cold, but I'm not complaining. Let's bring the Cecil back. This big. Well, Cecil the Vessel has come up trumps, because I am into a Farlows carp, a lot quicker than what I expected, to be honest. Literally just having a look at it, I got picked up by a coot on the right under, and that's me, I've just caused a bit of a problem. Yeah, I got picked up by a coot on the right under, so I had to re-drop the right hand rod, but I re-dropped the right, brought the boat back in, sat back down, made a coffee, and the left hander's gone. I'm going to concentrate, because I made a bit of a hash of this. I've caught my other 2 lines. Be nice to see this one going, I've got to be honest with you. What it does mean is we'll be using the boat a little bit more. Winter fishing made easy. Oh wow, Jesus Christ. That is one hell of a looking carp. Wow. Look at that. Mate, that has to be one of the best looking carp I have ever seen. It's 30. 31.12. Without a doubt, one of the nicest looking fish I have ever seen. Have a look at this. Oh. Check this out. Wow, just wow. 31 pound, 12 ounces of probably one of the best looking carp in Farlows. You know what makes it even sweeter? I used a bait boat to catch it, and I ain't afraid to say it. Winter fishing made easy. Who wants to make it hard, eh? Hopefully it's, I don't want to keep it out of the water long. Such a special looking fish. Look at that. Lost for words. Absolutely lost for words. Middle of January, freezing cold. Had the rods out for 2 hours. 31.12. Wow. They don't come better than that. Put 2 rods back out quick you can with a bait boat, obviously, and it's just gone. But I've had a bit of a mare. Seems to be having a few mares this trip, didn't I? Because both the rods are quite close together, but one was further out than the other one, and I think what's happened is I've had a bite and it's instantly picked up my other rod. But they both bleached at the same time. So I'm playing a fish in on one of my rods, but I don't know if I'm playing the line in and it's attached to the other one. But all I do know is it's freezing cold and we are in to carp number 2. Well, that's the second one in the net. There's my other line trailing behind, but it has got one of my rigs in its mouth. Bite number 2, carp number 2. There you go, there's the old rig out. Not gonna stress this one out. It's a common about 14, 15 pound, but here's another bite. I'm just gonna lower the draw cord. I'm gonna slip him straight back. Go and enjoy your afternoon, you old mate. Job's a good one. On to the next one. I just put that fish back. I'm going to make myself a coffee now. If you follow me on socials, you'd have probably seen that I put a few posts on about the new cookware kit. It's unbelievable how quick it boils a kettle. And I'm not just saying it, it really does boil it in no time. So I've just filled it up with water. I'm just going to put that on there. Let's see how long it takes to boil 0.65 litre saucepan of water. And there we go. From freezing cold water, and I do mean freezing cold, to boiled, 1 minute, 18 seconds. Job's a good one. Well, it's just going into the evening and I've got another one on. I'm just going to grab the net. It's turning into a very, very good day. This silkweed's a bit of a problem in here though. It seems to be snarling up all around the end of the line where the lead is. As you can probably see out there now. The fish are below, but you're not really playing the fish, you're just playing a big ball of silkweed. But it looks like another scaly mirror, this one. I've seen a couple of fish show in the last half an hour as well. But like I said before, where I'm actually fishing now, a large proportion of the water in front of me, the pegs that fish it, are closed off. And even though it's absolutely freezing, lo and behold, pressured day ticket venue, the fish know exactly when there's no lines in the water, and it's where they're sitting. They're sitting off of what I believe is the factory bank, not that far out, but I'm not gonna go further. I could fish further because the pegs are closed off. And again, that's another thing what people do with a bait boat, is they take the mickey with it. If I fish far out, I'm gonna push the fish further away from where I am. So all I wanna do is carry on fishing the same spot. And like I say, with all of my fishing, just remain consistent. The same amount of bait, in the same place, and keep them coming back. If I go further out, I'm going to give them a reason to move off me or push further and further away. I'll tell you something, it is Baltic. Let's have a look at that. Is it going to be mine? Had a bit of a hash of that, but I think he is in the net. And let me tell you, that is another amazing looking fish. I've had a bit of an occurrence on the other rod as well. Wow, I never ever expected it to be this good, this quick, or this good in fact at all. It's absolutely freezing, and that is my third bite in probably 2.5 hours. Amazing. Always pick the right venue. Well, how about that then, glistening away in the evening sun. Cecil the Vessel has done me proud, and you know what? I was going to cast and I was going to spom going into the evening, but it's absolutely Baltic now. And all the while I can catch them, trundling my old bait boat out into the middle, I'm going to carry on. Long may it continue. Bite number 3, fish number 3, another special Farlows carp. Let's hope the night carries on, eh? Well, the sun is just about to set and I'm in to yet another carp. It's been an absolutely mad, better than I expected afternoon into the evening. The temperature though, I'm not going to keep going on about it, is absolutely plummeting. I think once this fish has been dealt with, I'm going to be running back to the van and putting my thermals on. And yeah, what a great day it's been. Now, one of the questions that I've been asking myself throughout the course of the afternoon is, would I have had 4 bites of a bait boat? Would I have had 1 casting? Would I have had 6 casting? Who will know? But all I do know is using the bait boat correctly has got me bites when it is absolutely freezing. And like I said before, I was initially going to chuck them out tonight and put some bait over with a spom, but it seems to be working. Yeah, and if it isn't broke, I'm not going to fix it. So I've got another carp on. And I know I mention it time and time again, but remain consistent. One of the things with a bait boat is a lot of guys I see, they'll catch over a scoop of bait and they think because they've caught one over a scoop, they'll catch twice as many over 2 scoops. Keep everything consistent. I'm going to keep dropping them back onto the spot, and if it dries up, then I'll start looking to do maybe some other little bits and pieces to try and get a bite, maybe a solid bag long on its own or a single. But for now, for how cold it is, the action is good. And I've got another angry Farlows carp under the tip that I'm hoping is going to go in the landing net. Another hard fighting, scaly Farlows mirror carp. This looks like he's going to glide into this waiting net. Come on then, Mr. Carp, in we go. Oh, he's a nice one. Oh. There we go. Number 4. Well, how's about that one then? As the M25 rush hour traffic piles up behind us. A lovely Lake One 20-pound perfect linear. This trip is unreal. It's going way better than I ever expected it to go. It's freezing cold. It's been a massive change in weather, but it seems to be that remaining consistent keeps the bites coming. And this is furthermore to my proof of go fishing to places in the winter that have a good stock of carp that are willing to feed. No one wants to be sitting there long, cold, boring days and nights doing nothing. Go out, fish it right, and the rewards are there to be had. Fingers crossed, the action carries on, because each and every one of these fish that I've had so far have been totally unique, and there is so many lovely carp swimming around on the Farlows complex. Into the net. Well, here we go, another Farlows carp. Now, I don't know what's happened between 1 AM and when I've just had this take just after first light, but it has dropped somewhat in temperature. When I went to bed, there wasn't any frost at all, and I've woken up, everything is white, all the buckets are frozen, and the mat was like a piece of cardboard. It was absolutely frozen solid, and I've just had a look at the long range forecast for the next couple of days, and it's only getting colder. It's dropping well down into the minuses at night. Who knows, it might affect the fishing or it might not, but what I am going to do is I'm just going to play it by ear. I'm going to see how the day goes, and if I've sort of fished past the bite time that I had yesterday, sort of between 2:30 and 4 o'clock, and I haven't had anything, you know what, I'm going to think myself lucky. I've had a brilliant trip and I'm going to call it a day. But I'm going to have a look in other areas this morning. Maybe the fish might have sort of pugged themselves away into some quiet little corners and little sun-trapped areas, but you know what? This is bite number 10 and carp number 10, and if this is the last one I catch, what an amazing session it's been. So I'm going to slip this one back, I'm going to put the kettle on, warm my hands back up, and see what the rest of the day brings. These are gone. Let's make a brew. That is freezing. Probably the coldest I've fished in, I would say all year, but it's January. It's probably the coldest I've fished in for the last few years. It's freezing. Take her out to her required destination as the coots descend around the vessel. There's an art form to using one though. It's not a case of just loading him up and dumping it out there. I don't care what anybody says. You've still got to apply a bit of, you know, feeling the lead down and dropping it in the same spot, just keeping it all consistent. You can't just fill them up with bait and drop them out there. Oh, we're here, we're on the clip, we're on the clip. Hit the clip lovely, this one. Donk. Home and dry. Oh. When it comes to rigs and components, there's an absolute minefield out there. There is so much stuff available nowadays. Sometimes even I look through and I'm like, whoa, what have I just seen? But my fishing is so basic. And I know that in my videos and on my socials, I go over the same rig time and time again. But the reason for that is because it is a rig that works for me and it will work in any given situation. And that is the key to fishing, using a rig that you're confident in. And all I'm asking this rig to do is to present the hook bait as best as it possibly can, whether that's cast, dropped from a boat, used as a single, used with a bag, and present the hook bait perfectly, as well as having the hook exposed. So when a fish picks it up, I've got a nice big hook on the end, and 99 times out of 100, whatever I hook, I am landing. Now the Illusion D rig, like I say, is a rig that I have used religiously for probably the past 5 or 6 years. And in my opinion, it is probably the best rig that you can use. It's versatile in a sense. You can use whatever bait you want to use on it, albeit you can't use a pop-up on it because it is tied with fluorocarbon. But if you're using a wafter or a bottom bait, you can change the size of bait, the amount of bait you put on. You could be fishing with a single wafter, you might want to fish it with a snowman, you might want to fish it with a cluster of maggots like I am here. And as well, with the D rig, I like to use a very long rig. Again, this always divides opinion. Should you use a short rig or should you use a long rig? And the answer to it is you have to use what you are most confident in. I always favour a rig of a minimum of 12 inches. Sometimes I can use them up to 18 or 20 inches in length. And the reason that I like to fish them that length is that when my rig, or when my lead lands on the bottom, should I say, I don't want this rig laying dead straight away from the lead. I almost want a slight curve in the rig. And the reason for this is I just think when the fish picks the bait up, it's not feeling any resistance towards the lead. And the further that hook bait is gone down the fish's throat, the further that it has to eject it from before it feels the weight of the lead. Therefore, I feel that increases my chances of hooking a carp. And like I say, if it isn't broken, don't try and fix it. This is a rig that works for me. So on this particular session, I have been dropping it from a bait boat, and it is a perfect rig for that. I know that the lead is going to fall through the water first. The hook bait is almost going to hold itself up neutrally buoyant for a couple of seconds before the weight of the hook link and the weight of the hook is slowly going to sink that hook bait down to nestle on the bottom that I'm fishing over. But again, majority of my fishing, well in fact nearly all of my fishing, is done with casting. And I know that when I'm fishing this as a single hook bait, which a lot of my fishing is, if I'm fishing over a baited area, I won't be attaching a PVA bag. I know that this rig is as tangle proof as you're ever going to get. Now I appreciate that every rig at some point will tangle. The only rig that probably will never tangle is a chod rig. But in my opinion, this rig is going to tangle far less than some of the other rigs that I've seen out there being used today. And like I said, it is such a versatile rig. 99% of the time, I'm using this as a single. If I saw fish show in the middle today, I could cast it as a single and I know that it isn't going to be tangling. Or if I want to attach a PVA bag, it's a simple case of tying a small bag up, leaving a little tag end of about 1 inch or 1.5 inches, hooking the hook through the top of that tag end like so, and just to make sure that that bait doesn't loop around the hook, which it does on occasions, but just to make sure that it doesn't, it's a case of folding the bag and wrapping it around the back of the hook, back through into the PVA, and you can use the rig with a PVA bag. So in my opinion, the D rig, and I know I say it time and time again, is probably one of the most versatile rigs when it comes to fishing wafters or bottom baits, and it does exactly what I want it to do. Earlier on in the video, we mentioned that there was going to be a giveaway. Now this is what we are giving away. Not this exact set, this is my set. We'll be sending you a brand new one, and that is one of our new infrared stoves and a 0.65 litre power boil saucepan to go on it as well. Now this cooker does come with an adapter, so whilst you can use this and it does sit on there nice and snug, you can put the adapter on and you can use a conventional saucepan or a frying pan or indeed a normal kettle. Now to be in with a chance of winning this fantastic prize, all you have to do is be a subscriber to the Fox International YouTube channel and comment below how long did I say it took me to boil my saucepan of water. So like I say, all you got to do, be a subscriber to the Fox International YouTube channel and comment below how long did it take me to boil the pan of water to be in with a chance of winning this absolutely fantastic prize. Good luck. So that's it then, the end of my trip down here to Farlows Lake 1, and what a mega session it has been. It has been way better than I ever expected. Driving down here, you know what, I thought to myself, if I can catch a couple of fish, I've had a major result. But one thing that this trip has cemented more than a lot of other trips that I've been on is making the most of the small opportunities. I caught the bulk of my fish. I've landed 10 fish. I caught 9 of those in an 8 to 9 hour feeding spell. It would have been very easy of me to have been a little bit lax, certainly with using the bait boat, and become a little bit lazy, and I probably wouldn't have had half the amount of fish that I've ended up catching. It's also been nice to use a bait boat. Now again, I know they divide opinion massively, but fishery rules down here at Farlows allow the use of boats, and used sensibly, they are an absolutely incredible tool. I have never ever had anything bad to say against a bait boat, and I've never said that I'd never use one in my own fishing. And this fishing situation here has proved that it doesn't matter how long you've been fishing, if you feel that a bait boat is going to help you and is going to aid you, then you know what, go ahead and use it. I'm pretty sure over all of these years I've earned my stripes, and I'm sort of allowed a little bit of leeway on one trip, but it's been a brilliant session. And just because I have used a boat, it hasn't meant that it's a doddle and it's a foregone conclusion that you're going to catch, because they do still take a little bit of mastering. Again, it's very easy with a boat to go over the top, so it's been able to remain consistent and stopping yourself that temptation for absolutely filling it in and fish for a bite at a time. And that's exactly what I've done here now. Who knows if I would have caught any more or any less casting. All I know is it's the middle of January, it's freezing cold, I've caught 10 carp up to just under £32, and I'll be driving away from here one very happy angler.